Welcome, everyone, to the Kia Knicks postgame show. Mitchell Robinson out with the broken foot. Nerlens Noel starting at center. 8 points, 11 rebounds, 4 blocks, and 2 steals. Jimmy Butler dominated the second half, finished the game with 27 points. And Miami tonight ends the Knicks winning streak at 3. Miami 98, the Knicks 88. Great to have you with us, everybody, from our Delta MSG studios. Bill Pito along with Alan Hahn. Monica McNutt joins us tonight from her home studio. And when you look at this game, Alan, second half, Knicks outscored 62-45 in the second half.
It looked no further than the third quarter of doom, which was amazing to see that the Knicks and the Heat were playing a game from the 90s in the first half, and the Heat had 36 points. Then in the third quarter, back to 2021 we go, and they put up 39 points, and really it was all Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and his defense on Julius Randle. A very physical game. It was absolutely wasn't pretty to watch, but you know, if you want to look at one part of the game that stood out to me as this was pretty much it in a nutshell, it's this possession. Watch this. Early fourth quarter. A missed shot, offensive rebound. Adebayo, by the way, had 8 offensive rebounds out of 18 rebounds. Another possession. Ball moves around. Good defense. Just get the rebound, right? No. Another offensive rebound. All right, well, stop the ball. More defense. Again, shutting it down. Everything's fine. It's just defense is not finished until you get the rebound. And the possession doesn't end. Another bad shot, get the rebound. Nope, again, Adebayo, another rebound. Did I say he had 8 offensive rebounds? Because it needs to be repeated.
He had like 4 on this one sequence.
Exactly. And so you're seeing the Knicks just having to work so hard defensively. And then, of course, corner 3. Why not? Monica, to me, that moment in the game was pretty much how to describe this game in a nutshell. A lot of frustration. The Knicks are a hard-working team, but you can't pay off that defense until you secure that rebound. And the Miami Heat just hustled a little harder.
I would agree with you, Han, and there was a similar moment that stood out to me. It was a block on a dunk attempt by Iguodala for Nerlens Noel, which is a huge play, right? But then the tip-around offensive opportunity, rebounding, that is, for Miami, and ultimately they get a tip-in score. But you're absolutely right. You've got to complete the play with the defensive rebound. But another puzzling part about this game to me was the Knicks' inability to kind of navigate the zone that Miami threw at them. And of course, I don't want to oversimplify playing against the zone, but it just felt like there was a lot of over-dribbling, kind of hitting gaps that weren't really gaps, not relying on the precision of the ball movement and executing the offense with confidence to find the best shots, especially once Miami got the momentum going offensively. You could tell that they were locked in defensively as well.
Yeah, Bill, I completely agree. The zone, and we saw the Bucks do this the other night as well, with the whole game they went zone. It's getting around the league, obviously, and for a Knicks team that they struggle against the zone. More teams are going to see this now as we get into winning time late in this season. They're going to have to figure it out because teams are putting it against them.
Monica, props to you. Second quarter, the Knicks go on a 16-0 run, keyed by the bench, which you said was going to be the key matchup in the pregame show. So in the second quarter, that was what really helped the Knicks take a 7-point lead at the half.
Definitely, and I think one of those players off the bench that was tremendous tonight would have to be Derrick Rose. Well, I don't know if you could say tremendous in this overall losing effort, but D. Rose did have 16, and IQ gave you 12 off the bench as well. In that second quarter, you felt like there was some continuity, right? The guys were getting up and down the floor, and I say this, whatever level of basketball I'm covering, whether it's men's, women's, pros, or college, it is a hard day at the office to set up in your half-court set and have to rely on execution, particularly tonight when the Knicks struggled with the zone. But you saw in that second quarter a little bit more transition opportunities. The ball whipped up the floor and then around the floor quickly into shot opportunities. So unfortunately, as we know, that was not necessarily sustained. But if this team is going to have to navigate zones, I would argue that they're going to have to look to lean in more on transition basketball and allowing our guards to get up the floor. Noel, Gibson, Julius are all capable of running the floor and beating defenses before they set up.
Yeah, you saw in those highlights too, Monica, right? How did they beat the Heat? Were never able to actually get set up on their defense because there was so much in transition, whether it was off a defensive rebound and you get it up the floor, or a block by Nerlens Noel and you get up the floor as quickly as you can. That is the one way you can stop a team from getting set defensively as you get into transition. It is obviously not something the Knicks do a lot of, But it is something to watch now in these last 26, 25 games of the season as the Knicks are trying to clinch a playoff spot.
All right, guys, so the Knicks looking pretty good at the half. They have that run 16-0. They're up by 7 at the break. But the third quarter, man, we talk about it at times.
Jimmy Butler show.
Third quarter of doom. The Knicks get outscored, Allen, 39-21 in the third quarter, and Jimmy Butler scored 15 of those 39 points.
Yeah, there was something that happened during the game, whether he got bumped, I think maybe by Julius Randle. Something happened. He wasn't happy that a foul wasn't called, and Jimmy didn't like that. And Jimmy decided, I'm taking over the game, and he did such as the Knicks let him run to the rim a couple of times early on and got him into rhythm. Butler's been hot and cold this year, but one thing we do know, we learned it last year in the bubble, he can take over a game. He is at that level. Talk to him. He told the Knick bench, you better guard me. There's some soft defense here by Reggie Bullock that time, but obviously it's very difficult to guard Jimmy Butler. He's so strong. His finishing, obviously, at the rim, but he's a star, and he took over the game. And, Monica, that's where you look and see, all right, well, the Knicks star has to answer. And Julius Randle, with the defense that I thought that Bam Adebayo played on him and was allowed to play on him in this very physical game, it kept him really from getting into his own rhythm and taking over. He did try in pockets in this game, Monica, but it felt like there was no answer for Jimmy Butler, and the one guy that could would be the Knicks all-star, Julius Randle.
Yeah, definitely. And credit Bam. I think we don't necessarily give him the credit for his ballerina cat-like abilities. He's actually not just big. He's incredibly athletic. We know that he's a versatile scorer, but the way he's able to manage his body is really impressive. But I do want to go back to something you said, Han, about Jimmy Butler. We had this great moment in the game where Mike and Clyde pointed out that Jimmy was talking up RJ about how to get off and you got to get your body into me on the cut or whatever. You know what that was, Han? That was the absolute setup. Because even though I'm giving you some tips, sophomore, watch me lock in and go off. And there's going to be nothing that you can do about it.
You know, because it's worth talking about because R.J. Barrett.
I thought that was a cool moment.
R.J. Barrett against the Heat in 3 games has not been as good as he has against other teams.
Right. Two single-digit scoring games and one 13-point game in the 3 games. The Knicks have been swept by the Heat, by the way, this season, too. Keep an eye on that. But you're right. It has been a struggle for R.J. because what are the Heat? A physical defensive team. He's a physical player, likes to get to the basket. But you know what, Monica, you took that away from me because I actually thought that was a cool moment. I enjoyed that back in Miami when he talked to him, gave him a little tip, and then in this game, obviously when they're matched up, he seems to enjoy going at the young player. But it's all lessons learned for R.J. Barrett, but they're hard lessons for sure.
Barrett, we talked about you and I before he came on. Monica, he had gone first time in 15 games he doesn't get in double figures. That's how good he has been playing. But you mentioned that's twice now in 3 games against the Heat when he hasn't gotten into double figures. What is it about Jimmy Butler that slows him down?
I think it's the whole team, right? Monica, would you say it's really the way the Heat play defense, and they're just so physical. And you'd have to think, too, that the Heat came into this game, coming into the Garden, looking at the standings. Wait, the Knicks are in 4th? Like, where are we? And they're in 4th? We need to send a message to this team. And that's what I felt like this game was about.
Yeah, and
100%. I agree with you. And I think some matchups just don't bode well for certain players. And you got Butler, you got Adebayo on the back end. Dragic is not maybe the first person you think of in terms of defender, but if he switches on, he's willing to be physical. Like that entire Heat roster is willing to bump and bang. And so that just doesn't bode well necessarily in terms of matchups. For RJ in particular, you kind of got to shoot this team out of a zone.
Yes.
And we struggled, obviously, from 3 tonight.
No doubt.
Also, from the line, the Knicks didn't help themselves going 12 out of 20. You mentioned 3-point shooting as your stat to watch.
Not
Get a
good.
buzzer. Neither team was that good. Heat 10 out of 34, Knicks 10 out of 36. You said that was something to watch, but that turned out to be really a push.
Yeah, it didn't. But it felt like the Heat made threes at times in this game that were critical threes. I understand that the Heat still didn't shoot the 3 well, but there were points in this game, though, especially Duncan Robinson knocked a few down, Tyler Hero knocked a few down, where they felt like back-breaking threes. And for the Knicks, an absolute struggle for a team that since, as I mentioned in the pregame, since March 17th, was shooting 40% from downtown. In this game, well under that at 27%.
What was your Knicks rebound prediction for MSG?
All right, the Heat got 48. The Knicks did not rebound the ball well.
Just so everyone knows, the other night, Allen said the Knicks were going to score 102 points, and they got 102
points. And now
points.
Bill expects me to get it every single night. If I could do that, I wouldn't be working here. I wouldn't need to work.
Monica, by the way, we love having her here, but when she's part of the pre- and post-game show, the Knicks don't do as well.
I'm sorry. I didn't say it, Monica. It wasn't me.
I knew you were going to do that. What?
We love you.
How
You're
dare
coming up
you.
also with Kaz on MSG PM. And when you guys do that show after Nick home post games, good things happen. So, I don't know.
Exactly.
So that's what we'll emphasize.